What's up everybody, M.O.A.B here, and today I'm going to bring you guys some domination gameplay on Resistance, and I'm using my beloved MK14. But anyways, the topic of this gameplay is I actually wanted to continue talking about domination tips and advice I can give you guys, specifically with regards to class setup, since that was another popular topic you guys wanted me to discuss. Last time out I talked about, kind of general and specific tips mixed in, talking about how to not just approach a flag and immediately cap it if you don't know what the surrounding area is like. Obviously try to clear the area first, and also how to approach flags, how to, incorporate your teammates into it, etc. And obviously this time around I want to just talk about, before any of that even happens, the type of class you want to go into it. So using this gameplay as an example, on Resistance, at least the way I like to play it, it involves a lot of long lines of sight, and obviously, B is a perfect example with the long corridor where I am right now, this long alleyway. It's just constant sniper battles, at least, if you're playing domination. And, obviously, to tailor to, long-range battles, I'm using the MK14. I think I have silencer and rapid fire. And, obviously, that just plays into what I'm going to get into right now, which is you want to, it seems kind of obvious, and, you're probably thinking, why are you telling me this? But actually, a lot of people, they tend to have favorite weapons, which, I'm not hating on that, but people, it can also, hurt you in the regard, because people tend to use the same weapon on, like, every single map. And I'm talking about, like, using an ACR on mission, which is good, and then you see them carrying it over to Dome, not so good. And the reason that's obviously not so good is because, every single gun, no matter how good it is in a certain map, there's always going to be other maps where it suffers. I mean, the closest thing I can, say is an all-around weapon would probably be the ACR, using that as an example. But even then, like I said, it will suffer on maps that involves a lot of close quarters combat, like Dome, Carbon, what else, Seatown, at least, if you're playing it the way I've been playing it. But even in general, you want to tailor, like I said, it seems really obvious, but a lot of people, they miss that simple thing where they use their favorite weapon, which is fine, but it may not be the best in certain maps. That's why you want to obviously have classes that, are suitable both for close quarters, for medium range, and long range. And obviously, various weapons excel that. So, like, most submachine guns excel in the close quarters, not so much medium, long range. And then you have some of the high power, low rate of fire assault rifles, like the AK-47 and the FAD. Those excel in medium range, but long range, there's something to be sought for. And then obviously long range, like here I have the MK14, and ACR is another example, Type 95. I mean, like I said, it really does seem really obvious, but a lot of people, they wonder why they're performing so poorly in domination, or just in general, depending on a map or whatnot. And it's as simple as sometimes just, you have the wrong weapon loadout. I mean, you could be the best gun skill player in the world, but if you're trying to outshoot a Type 95 on interchange with a P90, I mean I'm going to be wondering what you're trying to do there. And obviously, in regards to your primary weapon, obviously it comes into your secondary. So obviously you see me here, I have the Akimbo G18s. Now, normally I wouldn't even be using these, because I think I was just working on the Mastery Challenge from, like I mentioned a couple videos ago, about how this is easy XP. But actually, on the MK14, since it's so suitable for medium and long range, what I want my secondary weapon to be good at is obviously the distances, that the MK14 itself isn't, and that would be close range. And the Akimbo G18s, while not that great compared to the other machine pistols, they do excel very well at close quarters. And obviously that ties into the bigger concept of, you want to, at least for the most part, make sure that the secondary weapon you have complements your primary weapon, in that whatever your primary weapon doesn't cover, the ranges, and in this case, obviously, the MK14 doesn't really cover close quarters combat too well. You want your secondary weapon to do that. Now, obviously, something like the FMG9 Akimbo, which, pretty much destroys regardless of the distance unless you're trying to snipe with them. Although pre-patch, you probably could have. Obviously, those are kind of exceptions in that they're all-around secondaries. But for the most part, something like the Akimbo Scorpions, which are good medium-range secondaries, because you're not going to find too many long-range secondaries. I mean, it defeats the purpose of having a secondary if they were really good long-range. But, like, Akimbo Scorpions are a good example of something that's good for medium distance, and obviously if you have, like, an SMG, which is good for close quarters, but probably, not as good in medium range, you'll probably want to pair up the Scorpions with an SMG. And those are just kind of combinations you want to, pair up. And in going along primary and secondary weapon also comes equipment. Now this is probably one of the single biggest things you can have to your advantage in domination. And the first thing I'm going to mention is the trophy system, because that thing is a underrated beast. I mean, I know many people think, oh, it only blocks 2 projectiles, it's kind of pointless. But think about it, even if you have like 2 teammates running it, and you put it at the most important flag, which on 99% of the maps is B, I mean, that's 4 different explosives, and it's not just like rockets, nades, and all that. It's actually like tac nades too. So if they try throwing EMP nades, flash grenades, stun grenades, which many people like to do in domination, it'll repel them. And I think it also does it to kill too, like predator missiles. I'm not sure about Reapers, but some kill sticks are also repelled by it. So obviously, since especially the fight for B is so hectic, having something like a trophy system to deflect explosives that normally, even if they don't kill you, will deal a significant amount of damage to you, it's really underrated. And I wish more people would use them, at least when we're playing. On my team, obviously I don't want to face them on enemies, because I use a lot of explosives and tac nades and whatnot, but it's really underrated. And another really underrated equipment to go along with this is also a tactical insert. Now, this I don't personally use, but my good friend not Optic Gaming, but on the forum I help moderate, he actually is a huge advocate of tac insert, especially around B, because obviously, like I said, B being like, the most significant flag to hold on 99% of maps, if you lose it and you're out of position and you have to spawn all the way back at your home flag, or just something else that keeps you out of position, it can be really detrimental and game changing if you lose that flag just because you weren't there on time. And obviously tac insert, if you don't want to tac insert right on the open, but obviously pick a pretty sneaky spot around B, that doesn't get easily noticed, but provides you quick tactical advantage to quickly get back into the battle and defend your flag and whatnot. Like I said, I personally don't use it, but I've heard and seen it used to great success, so I would highly recommend it, especially if you're, I'm not trying to say you're a bad player, but if you're someone who dies quite a lot trying to protect flags, it's probably more useful to you to have tac insert than some of the other equipment, barring you're using trophy system, which I would argue is better than tac insert. But anyways, tac insert in that regard, if you tend to die a lot trying to protect flags, it's probably tac insert is probably the go-to equipment for you to use, just because you can get back right into the battle, and it's almost as if you have 2 people for every 1 person guarding the flag, because if you die, you're still right back there, so it's almost as if you didn't leave. And going along those same lines, some of the lethal equipment, I've been pretty much exclusively a Semtex person, just because the nades in general suck, but frags in general I don't really like, just because in the close proximity of all these maps I like the quick detonation of Semtex. But also C4, I just wanted to quickly put it in here, is very underrated equipment, and I give credit to this for my friend Jason, now also a moderator on the forum, because these things have a much larger blast radius, and the fact that you can detonate them easily by double tapping the reload button. I think it's X on Xbox and double tapping square on PS3. It's really good for those quick momentum, I guess, changing moments, because who likes getting killed by C4, but it's also obviously has a lot of tactical advantage. But I think I just talked right through a double M.O.A.B. Yes, I got a M.O.A.B. about like halfway through, and then my good friend Hector, he also got a M.O.A.B., and this is the first game that I've been involved in, at least, where a team had 2 M.O.A.B.s in one game. But I thought this was pretty cool. But like I said, I just wanted to give you guys some more help regarding domination classes and how to maximize it, and hopefully get you guys some success on the battlefield. But yeah, take care, everybody.